Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. The National Oil Company takes center stage of discourse lately to shed more light on some trending issues and amplify the authentic perspective as far as the NNPC is concerned. The AKK project has been attested to as having complied with all the procurement processes required for such a contract by the Bureau of Public Procurement, while the NNPC has stated its case that the AKK contract inflation is baseless, false and malicious. More education about the benefits of PMS fuel deregulation. As much as the act is inevitable, the continuous education is also inevitable. And GMD Mele Kyari has been rallying public support and embracement, even as the PPPRA says full deregulation has come to stay. Plus an in-depth account of the NNPC as a compass of transparency and accountability. Thanks for joining us. My name is Akin Agbejule. This is Oil and Gas 4.
Let's take responsibility to stop the spread of the virus. Wash your hands frequently with soap under running water for about 20 seconds.
Or use a hand sanitizer where water and soap are not available.
Cough or sneeze into a tissue and dispose properly. Or cough or sneeze into your elbow.
Avoid large gatherings. Keep physical contact to no less than 2 meters and wear a mask whenever you are in a public space.
Clean all surfaces frequently with disinfectant.
And if you develop symptoms like frequent cough, sneezing, fever, or shortage of breath, call your state emergency number or NCDC's toll-free number on 0800 97 00 0010. Take responsibility. Do it for yourself and the rest of us.
This message is brought to you by the NCDC and funded by the NNPC IPPG team, an association of indigenous oil and gas producing companies.
The Director General of the Bureau of Public Procurement, BPP, Mr. Mamman Amadou, has confirmed that the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation NNPC complied with all the rules and regulations governing procurement in the award of the contracts for the Ajaokuta-Kaduna-Kano AKK gas pipeline project. The BPP boss gave the confirmation during a business visit to the Bureau by the Group Managing Director of NNPC, Malam Mele Kyari, and some members of the corporation's top management. Amadou stated that NNPC followed all the processes required under the BPP Act for the AKK gas pipeline project and urged investors to ignore media reports which speculated that the state oil firm did not follow due process in the award of the contracts for the project, describing them as malicious and baseless.
Of course, from what I've already said, the publication is not reflective of what actually happened. NNPC followed due process, was the officer who reviewed the whole process. Of course, after I read a bit of the social media, I called on him to brief me on the relationship between the due process we did and what was carried in the social media. And of course, he noticed a very big variation between what we did and what NNPC has with what was in the social media. Then we went further to find out how they came about the information they disseminated. And of course, we saw that they picked the information from somewhere else and used it in a manner that was meant to hurt what NNPC did.
On his part, Malam Kyari stated that the historical relationship between NNPC and the BPP has been quite rewarding, noting that when the BPP Act was enacted, it was not difficult for the corporation to align with it because many of the provisions were actually practices already enshrined and entrenched in the NNPC system.
This corporation is owned by 200 million Nigerians, and we have a responsibility to be accountable to all the 200 million shareholders, including myself. And the meaning of that is that in the context of procurement is that we must do the right things, we must follow all external rules, we must procure at the least cost, and we must also be very transparent in the process of our procurements.
The Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) has said that subsidy removal will free up huge resources to enable government fund ongoing infrastructure revamp across the country and build more hospitals, noting that the long-term benefits outweigh the immediate pains. Speaking on a channel's television program, Politics Today, the Group Managing Director of NNPC, Malam Melekyari, said that the activation of a market-driven downstream sector will not only stimulate positive outcomes in the industry, but would ultimately remove the distortions in the overall economy of the country as a result of the defunct subsidy regime.
And it is clear today also that we can't afford it anymore. Today, as a result of the COVID-19, even prior to that, there are collapse in the price of crude oil. Our government resources are going down, revenues are coming down. Now, there is simply no possibility of government continuing to bear a bill of probably up to combined FX, forex exchange at the value of the products almost to the tune of 2 trillion naira per annum. This is huge. And government doesn't have that resources today, so you cannot give what you don't have.
Kyari said the deregulated downstream will lead to colossal increase in activities as investors will be able to build refineries, leading to massive upsurge in in-country refining capacity, which will in turn lead to lower prices of products as a result of decline in cost of production.
Government is very convinced today that, look, we need to shift to this reality. We need to free those resources. We need to remove the distortion that exists between consumption of what is not available and consumption of what you ought to afford. So this is why it took time. It's a very tough and difficult decision for Mr. President, but today we know that this is the right thing to do. You will see colossal increase in activities in the downstream sector of the industry because it will be driven by the private sector. People will be able to build refineries. Prices will ultimately in the sense that when you produce locally, you are able to have lower prices of this product.
The Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency PPPRA has explained that it is no more going to be releasing guiding price bands for the sale of premium motor spirit PMS, popularly called petrol, at filling stations. Addressing a press conference in Abuja, the Executive Secretary of PPPRA, Abdulkadir Saidu, stated that going forward, PMS price will be determined by the forces of demand and supply and the international cost of crude oil. The PPPRA boss, who was represented by Victor Shidok, noted that the role of the agency would be to ensure that oil marketers do not profiteer, as every petrol dealer was henceforth free to source for the product and fix their price.
With government pronouncement that the sector is deregulated, it means prices strictly will be based on the forces of demand and supply. You could have a regulator that always stand and remain a watchdog to see how these forces are being played out, how the interests of both operators and consumers are being taken care of.
He urged Nigerians to embrace the deregulation policy, saying that in no distant time the benefits will be seen by all. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) has become a full-fledged Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative (EITI) partner company, joining a group of over 65 extractives companies, state-owned enterprises (SOEs), commodity traders, financial institutions and industry partners, we commit to observing the EITI's supporting company expectations, guided principally by transparency and accountability. Oil and gas industry pundits believe that the enlistment of the NNPC is a welcome development and would ensure that the various tiers of government and Nigerians benefit more from the abundant hydrocarbon resources that the country is endowed with. EITI Board Chair, Right Honorable Helen Clark, welcomed NNPC's commitment to the EITI, saying NNPC plays a vital role in Nigeria's economy. Joining the EITI as a supporting company is a welcome step in the NNPC's journey towards achieving greater transparency. EITI Executive Director Mr. Mark Robinson speaks on some of the benefits that the NNPC's enlistment would bring on board for the country.
Mr. Kiari's leadership, the NNPC has a very powerful commitment to transparency and accountability. It really does symbolize, I think, what you hope to achieve in the next few years under your leadership. And it very much, of course, aligns with what the EITI is about globally.
Supporting the EITI Board Chair, Zainab Ahmed, Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, and former EITI Board member, also stressed the increased transparency of Nigeria's national oil company revenues is contributing to improvement in the country's domestic resource mobilization efforts. On his part, the Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NAITI, Waziri Adio, commended NNPC's move to support the EITI.
For us, it's just a reinforcement of all we have known and of the relationship that we have as a supporting company, but also on commodity trading transparency, on contract transparency, on beneficial ownership transparency, on mainstreaming.
Governor of Akwa Ibom State, His Excellency Udom Emmanuel, recently extolled the NNPC for its commitment to transparency and accountability, noting that the corporation's financial reporting of our operations were quite commendable and should be emulated.
We are feeling positive impact of the present crop of board and management of oil and gas in this country in terms of accountability and transparency in financial reporting.
Some oil and gas industry analysts speak on the significance of some of these steps taken by the NNPC in recent times.
And being a part of any EITI is going to give a global new interpretation to what NNPC is going to be going forward. You can't do this business unless you attract investment. And if NNPC is going to not have to depend on budget and then be able to attract investors to buy into their project, I think this will give them the type of credit worthiness, because the issue is being transparent.
For 4 decades, that has not been done. And speak volume of that singular step. Not only Nigeria is benefiting from it, Africa is benefiting. OPEC is also benefiting because it's also one of the members. And now, so it becomes a signature organization in the promotion of transparency in the extractive industries. You can't get it better than that.
This milestone of this audit has opened a window of appreciation and commendation by the EITI and NAITI, as well as every other person that cares about the situation in the NNPC.
The NNPC, which was established 43 years ago, has the mandate to operate and manage the abundant oil and gas resources on behalf of the federal government. It maintains laudable footprints across the entire value chain and has grown to become the largest asset holder across Nigeria's oil and gas industry value chain. It was established as a national oil company, but in line with its Business Continuity Plan (BCP), it is transitioning towards becoming an integrated energy company with an interest in power generation and transmission. Elated Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC), Malamele Kyari, announced the EITI enlistment with excitement, expressing the resolve of the NNPC to continue to meet the transparency and accountability parameters.
the EITI International announced the acceptance of NNPC as a partner company, a national oil company in the global scene. This is a very tremendous and a profound step that we have taken as a company to agree that we will be completely accountable to our shareholders, to agree that this company will work on behalf of the Nigerian people, to agree that we will disclose everything our shareholders need to know about the way we run our business and the way we manage their business.
In June 2020, the NNPC published audited account for 20 of its subsidiaries, a feat that was recorded for the first time 4 decades after its establishment. The NNPC also publishes its financial and operations report every month on its website, national dailies and online media to keep the public informed about its activities as part of efforts to be accountable to Nigerians. The enlistment of NNPC as an EITI supporting company is capable of enabling the corporation to attract more foreign direct investment, boost investor confidence, and in turn, enhance Nigeria's economy. Nigerians from all walks of life are particularly extolled the current management of the NNPC for walking the talk on transparency, accountability, and performance excellence tape since assumption of office, and they believe that this is the way forward for a world-class integrated energy company of choice.
Good evening and welcome to the feedback segment of the program. My name is Abigail Ojobo. The federal government is making spirited efforts to co-locate compressed natural gas (CNG) facility within filling stations across the country and give Nigerians the alternative of using CNG to power their vehicles as an alternative fuel to premium motor spirit (PMS), otherwise known as petrol, and automotive gas oil (AGO), also known as diesel. Today, we are seeking to know from motorists how willing are they to convert their vehicles to CNG, which is a cheaper, cleaner, efficient, and environmentally friendly fuel.
We can cut down this cost by using natural gas to power our vehicles. If you run on natural gas, you are going to be spending about 13 naira per kilometer. Whereas, if you are running on petrol, on an average car engine, you'll be spending about 24 naira per kilometer. If you do the maths, you will discover that you will be having about 45 to 50% savings of the cost of petrol.
I discovered some countries has been using it, but what I discovered, the problem lies with the conversion of our present engine to that of CNG. So if government, we are willing to use it, but if government will help us subsidize the cost of conversion of our cars.
Yeah, it's a welcome development because it will reduce the pressure on PMS, and then people will have option of using the CNG or using the PMS. It's a very good program if government follows it to the letter.
If they could actualize it, it would be very, very okay because we have options. The problem with our system is that we really don't have options of this, and so that's why they are capitalizing on the fuel issue. If there was an option of us using our vehicles or using our generators and all that stuff with this gas, I think it would be better.
For all we care for is benefits. If I can have benefits on the cost benefits here, if it's much cheaper than the petrol, good, we go for it.
I'll just take fuel of 2,000 now, and maybe this 2,000 without one, maybe I may just take 1,000. So anyone that we will go for the cheaper one.
In all over the world, in good economies, in America, in Australia, in Canada, that's what they do. They provide options so that citizens can have a feel of choices and take one from there.
When you walk into a conversion center, you now convert your vehicle, we get all your particulars, and then you now, each time you buy the auto gas in any co-located fuel stations, you're automatically paying for the conversion key. So in the long run, it saves you 40% cost saving. Your vehicle will have double the life of its use. You won't have issues about benzene and lead in your car. It will save you of how much each time, for how long, so much time you go to the mechanic to do maintenance. All of this would not be there anymore.
Interesting responses. With the introduction of CNG as an alternative fuel for vehicles, Nigeria has opened another vista for more eco-friendly fuel for motorists. And that's the much time we permit for this segment. Please sit back for the other segments of the program. Hello and welcome to this informative segment of the program. My name is Faith Ayuba. Did you know that exploration involves operator obtaining a list from the owner of onshore or offshore acreage thought to contain oil and gas? Did you know that the operator conducts geological and geophysical surveys to determine the first well site, which is called a wildcat well? Did you also know that drilling is physically creating a borehole in the ground that will eventually become an oil and gas well? Did you know that deviated wells are highly complex with numerous branches emanating from the original or mother hole? Now you know. Please don't go away. Global Crude Oil Outlook is next.
Hello and welcome to Global Crude Oil Outlook. Oil prices dipped after data showed United States crude stockpiles rose last week, and the United States Energy Information Administration (EIA) downgraded its oil demand outlook, although the Brent benchmark stayed above $40 per barrel. Brent crude futures fell 53 cents to $40.26 per barrel after rising 2.5% the previous session. United States West Texas Intermediate WTI crude futures dipped 61 cents to $37.44 per barrel after climbing 3.5% during the week. Meanwhile, Market Intelligence Department of the NNPC's London office reports that compliance among the 19 countries participating in the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries OPEC Plus oil production cut rose to 103% in August, according to Energy Intelligence assessments. The alliance's combined output rose by 1.3 million barrels per day in August, but with oil prices drifting lower in recent days, some are now asking if OPEC Plus may have underestimated the enduring impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on global oil demand. Recent cuts in official selling prices by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates indicate that key producers are aware that some form of action is needed to narrow the gap between supply and demand. And that's it on this segment of the program. I am Owigo Okolo.
Well, quite a couple of takeaways, as a matter of fact, in that package. We hope you find most of them, and if not all of them, very delightsome and informative. NNPC wishes you a happy week ahead. Maintain the protocol and stay safe. Bye.